Hello, and welcome to Apostolic Teens Podcast. I'm your host, Hudson Livingston. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Apostolic Teens Podcast. I'm your host, Hudson Livingston. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the wait on this episode. Just the transition mainly from March to April. It was hard to fit in a recording episode. A time to record this episode. But I do want to thank Colin and Alyssa for helping me on this. But anyways, hope you enjoyed last episode. Very good episode that somebody by the name of Hudson Livingston did. But anyways, if you haven't listened to that, I ask you to go back. We've gotten good feedback on that. I ask you to go back and listen to that. It's very important in our lives as teens. This episode is not connected with the last episode. It is connected with episode before last with Brother Moreland. If you have not went back and listened to Brother Thomas Moreland's episode, go back and listen to it. That's awesome. But we mainly talked about how his testimony, how he was in a one-parent home, but he still made it to church, and how he pushed through. And one thing that I sort of thought of whenever he was teaching is, as teenagers, oftentimes in the apostolic world, it's so easy to ride the coattails of our parents. And that's why today's episode is named Stepping Up to the Plate. I don't have any Bible, any verses. Some may come to mind, but I don't really have a verse to center around. But, it's comes a time in life where you have to step up and you have to deliver. For example, the job, the workforce. Eventually, you will have to step up and deliver. You will have to step up and do your part. Because if you don't, we're in a capitalistic society, so you'll starve. We don't do handouts. Praise God. You'll starve. And if you do, you can't fail or succeed unless you go. So there is that time to step up, and you have to join the workforce. One day, Alyssa had to join the workforce. I'm sort of getting into that time in life now. But just using this as an example, you will end up having to get into something, or just going to be honest, you'll end up in your parents' basement at 40. I hear that joke often, but it's serious. But that's stepping up to the plate in one aspect of our lives, where it's still easy to ride the coattails of our parents. But I mainly wanted to focus today on riding or stepping up to the plate when it came to our walk with God and revival going forward in the Apostolic Church. We are the church. We are not just another denomination. We are the true church. Anyone else that preaches another doctrine or if any man preach any other gospel unto you, let him be accursed. We are the true church because we preach the gospel of Paul. And as apostolics, we must, and I'm talking to apostolic teens. After all, this is Apostolic Teens Podcast. You should know this. But we really need to, it's stepping up and doing it ourselves is, it covers a big area. It's not just giving tithes and offerings. It's prayer, it's fasting, and it's reading our word. It's living for God. This last podcast with Brother Moreland really fueled my not desire, but I felt that God was already speaking that to me. But when Brother Moreland confirmed it, I thought, this is confirmation that I need to speak this. But let's start off with uh, tithes and offerings. If you don't know that, just quick rundown. Let's just not stay on it. Um, our church preaches tithes 10% and offerings is 5%, the shekel and the half shekel. But your pastor may believe something different. Not going against him. You do what he says. But that's somewhere where we need to step up. And I learned that whenever got my first dollar. Okay, any profit that I've made after that, it goes to tithes and offerings. So that's where we have to step up. The lights have to stay on in the church. Somebody's got to do it, and your parents aren't going to be around. Um, I don't want to say much longer, but you're going to live on, and they're going to die off, and you're probably going to live. It's a big chance that you're going to live longer than them, and we don't like to face that fact, but it's true. Another aspect is prayer and consecration. And here recently is um, probably within the last year is, you know, uh, I'm just going to be honest. I went to church, you know, I had a relationship with God. When I started this podcast, you know, I'm not trying to be braggadocious, but I've had a relationship with God for a long time. But it was almost like it was just sort of a second thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I've started to feel the call of God on my life, and He has a calling for me. He has a calling for you. If you want to fulfill the calling of God on your life, you have to go the extra mile. You have to. This isn't just as ministers. It's as whatever God is calling you to do. You have to consecrate. To live for God, we have to consecrate. Okay, we're not going to be teens all our life living in the home with parents. We're going to have to get up and go to church ourselves in a little bit and take our whole families to church. I mean, serious, we're close to being, and it's pouring down rain right now on a metal roof, so if you hear rain, we're sorry. But, it's so important to have that relationship with God for yourself so that when you move out, you can step up to the plate and hit it out of the park. I'm taking my family to church when the doors are open, supplying the money for the lights to stay on, and having this relationship with God that I don't fall. If we don't step up to the plate for ourselves, we will fall. And that's oftentimes why when teenagers get out of the house, they backslide, is because if they didn't get it for themselves. We got to get it for ourselves, and this is a very serious podcast. I don't want to be mean, but oftentimes, not spoiled, but whenever you become prosperous, it's so easy. When your parents become prosperous, it's so easy for you to say, there's all the, give me, give me, give me. I'm still in your house, I'm still a teen, so gimme, gimme, gimme. And all your stuff is what your parents have given you. And eventually you'll move out of the house and your parents won't be giving it to you. So who's going to give it to you? That's sort of like the socialist society, but this isn't a political podcast. But it's like handouts, handouts, handouts. And that's why we have people pushing for a socialist society. But at some point in our lives, we, again, have to step up to the plate. And we have to do this ourselves. We can't, T-ball. You got your parents behind you. You're a little kid and you got the bat. And they're holding your hands while you got the bat. And they're basically doing it for you almost. But then we got to get up there and we're major league now. At teens, you should be in the major league, spiritual major league. And you should be able to step up to the plate and not strike out yourself. The key to not striking out is that practice. When the time comes, you have practiced. And I hate to sort of draw in sports with this, but major leaguers, they don't just skip. I mean, there is some that skip and they go all the way. But there's been practice put into it. You have to take, you have to take that practice. If you don't practice, if the professional baseball player didn't practice, he would get up there and strike out. These major league pitchers are throwing 90 miles an hour. Okay? So if you step up to the plate and you have not put in the time, you've not put in the effort, and I have not put in the practice, I will strike out. And I will fail. When the time comes that it's time for you to step up to the plate, and it's time for us to do something for God, if we haven't put in that time and effort, we'll fail. That's a lot of times why preachers don't automatically start preaching peak. Is because a lot of times we see Brother Cody Marks, preaching peak and preaching camps. But just using him as an example, he's put in the time and effort. These evangelists have put in the time and effort to get where they are, and it's not. And the whole time they weren't looking, I'm going to preach peak. They were looking, I'm going to do something for God. And as saints, as teens that are trying to figure out what they're going to do in life, if your calling's not to be a minister, then you still have to consecrate yourself. Because we can't live in this life, just a normal life, and not be dedicated to the gospel. We can't skip a day in prayer. That's why it's important to die daily. Is because almost every day, really, you'll be stepping up to the plate, and the devil will throw something at you, or God may send something your way to see how you respond. If we haven't put in our time that morning, or we haven't put any time at all, we will strike out. And I hate to repeat myself on that, but I get this feeling, and I'm sort of preaching to myself. I don't want to preach at you, but because I'm just a teen too. But it feels like our generation is so focused on carnal things. It's what kind of phone I have, what kind of shoes I'm wearing. That's good and all. It's good to look nice. We actually did an episode on trends if you want to go back to listen to that. What kind of cup do I have? And then we'll talk about God. No, if we're not gonna, if we don't want to backslide, we need to get in it. And we need to worry about the shoes later and get focused on God. I don't want this to be a podcast where I just start getting out the whip and turning over the tables. I'm not Jesus, and I'm not showing you righteous indignation. I'm not mad at all. I'm just stating from teen to teen, we, including myself, we need to get this ourselves. That's the main thing. We need to get this ourselves. Worry about girls later. Worry about boys later. I need God right now. And we got all these feelings, but we need God. And He will be the one to help us. It's all right, in my opinion, to talk to or to have, if you want to call it, boyfriends and girlfriends. It's all right, but if your boyfriend's holding you back from a relationship with God, I want to rethink that. If your girlfriend's holding you back from a relationship, you might want to, rethink that. Because, whatever's holding you back, if you don't get rid of it, it'll continue to hold you back. Of course, that's not anything super deep. It's just the honest truth. So many times it's just like I get this mentality, and I'm sure it's the same with a lot, is it's just a play around mentality. It's just I'm in the church. I grew up in the church, but I'm just playing around. I ain't serious about it. And you have to shake that mentality off and say, no, we're not the church of tomorrow, guys. We've heard this over and over again. We are the church today, so let's act like the church of today. That's why I wanted to come on and talk about stepping up to the plate. And thanks to Alyssa for doing a cool job on the cover. Uh, if you like that, give us a shout out. But anyways, I know this was a short podcast, and how long have we gone? Yeah. Uh, so not a long podcast, 15 minutes, but I mean it's an important one nonetheless. Uh, like it shouldn't have to be long. We just need to get this for ourselves, and I feel like I just had the burden here recently as apostolic teens. Um, we need to just study to show yourself approved, not not parents, doing this for us. Parents can pray for us and pastors can pray for us, but we have to pray for ourselves sometimes. You know, uh, I'm in the age group that is almost grown up. We're getting there, and it seems like life's gone by so fast. Seems like just yesterday I was golfing with my cousin the other day, and it was like I told him it seems like just yesterday we were getting on each other's nerves, and now he's got a good job and he's in college now, and I'm about to graduate high school next year, and it's like it just seems like just yesterday we were both like 7 and 9 and fighting each other in grandma's bedroom, and we're in the age group that's about to be grown. There's preachers that will come out of our generation, Gen Z. There's gonna be preachers. Cody Marks, sad to say, won't live forever. Okay? Preachers of today that are preaching to you right now won't live forever. These elders, we need to enjoy them while we have them, but they're gonna be gone. Everything will die. There's a death to everything. Okay? Except for God. God is immortal. But there's a death to every. The grass withereth and the flower fadeth. But the word of our God shall stand forever. We're the grass, okay? We're gonna fade. We're gonna die. We weren't created to. Our bodies weren't created just to live forever, okay? But our souls are. Our souls are gonna go on, but we're gonna have to step up. And who's gonna fill those shoes? Great pastor Ari Prado, an evangelist, just died. 2 years ago? 1 or 2 years ago, and it was a sad thing. He was such a great preacher. I remember him preaching camp, and all 3 nights in a row that he preached, he didn't finish his message. The altars just filled up. But the point is, Elijah wasn't on the earth forever. But when he left, who picked up the mantle? Okay, Elisha. We need to be like Elisha. And when Elijah, Ari Prado, or Brother Ari Prado is just an example, the man of God is going to be gone. Who's going to preach to the next generation? And I know we have future preachers in this audience. But if we don't consecrate, we won't be able to reach the lost. Okay? A revival starts with us. And I don't mean to sound mean. And that's all I got. But it was just a burden that we need to get this, and we need to consecrate for ourselves. And that's it. Just remember to like us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. We got a great page going there. Remember, we're on YouTube if you want to watch this video. I made a lot of hand gestures, however you say that. If you want to see that, I think I look goofy when I do it, but you would probably laugh, so it'd probably be funny to you. If you want to go to YouTube and see those videos, you can do that. Colin does great work there. But if you're listening on Apple or wherever you listen, leave a review. We've been getting some good reviews lately. Have inspired an episode. The last episode was a listener-inspired episode, so that's what we like. Leave a review, okay? Don't worry about it. If you don't want to shout out, just say, hey, I don't want to shout out. But give a review, and let's make this podcast go forward. Anyways, that's it.
Thanks for joining us today on Apostolic Teens Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. And I think that's it. So we'll see you next time here on Apostolic Teens Podcast.